Hey guys, I just wanted to show you how to use some of these resources that I use to find really awesome flights and cheap flights all over the world. So I'm just gonna go through Skyscanner and go over some of these trips that we did last night. So yesterday for the meetup, I came up with 5 awesome trips from around the world, including a trip to Europe, a safari and beach excursion in Africa, a trip to Southeast Asia, to Australia, and to Panama and Costa Rica. And these trips ranged in price from $905 to $2,040 for the most expensive, which is the safari in Africa, which included a safari and beach excursion in Africa. So most of these trips are right about $1,000. It's just a really affordable way to go when you find the right flights. So that's why I want to help you guys just find really super duper cheap flights so you can actually go on these trips and decide where your next one's going to be. So this is usually where I start when I come up with a trip or people are asking me. I just use my resources and I've used these tools for years now, and it's just an amazing way to find really awesome deals. So for instance, if you're going anywhere outside of the country, you're typically going to need to use a couple different flights and piece them together if you want to get a cheap deal. You might be looking at an overnight in New York or Boston or LA or something like that. And I usually suggest that, and usually just extending your trip a day so you can explore that city and not to worry about any delays with flights. But it definitely makes it a lot cheaper if you can piece these kind of flights together. And I'll show you just how affordable it can be using this. So I'm just going to go over this trip that I designed to Europe. It's Krakow, Mostar, Bosnia, Dubrovnik in Croatia, and then ending in Rome and Sorrento/Amalfi Coast area in Italy before coming home. So this is an $1,120 flight or trip, including flights and lodging and ground transportation. No excursions or tours or anything, but $1,100 from New York to Poland, Croatia, Bosnia, Italy, and home, and then your accommodation. So you could definitely, and I can tell you later some ways to find local tours or excursions and stuff like that too. So you can definitely do a trip like this for $1,500 or something like that with doing it like this. So first off, it's also nice to just have different flights. If you buy different flights to different places, you're going to find better prices. For instance, instead of buying an entire package of flights from Kansas City all the way through these countries in Europe, through Italy and home, it's going to be an outrageous price because they have to find airlines that'll work with each other that do that. You're probably going to find the cheapest flight between Kansas City and the East Coast with something like Delta or Spirit or Frontier or Southwest or something like that. That's not going to be the same airline that you have to fly over to Europe with. And a lot of those times, those people don't have partnerships with international flights as well. So most of the time, you're going to find a cheaper flight with a different airline. So it's better to piece them together. Therefore, I'm going to look for a one-way. And it depends on the trip. This one flies into Poland and comes home through Italy. So I'm going to buy a one-way to Krakow in Poland. And I'm just going to start with New York. I always start with New York. Sometimes it's cheaper to fly out of Boston. Sometimes it's cheaper to fly out of DC. Sometimes Chicago. Just depends. I always start with New York because JFK is typically the cheapest place to fly out of to get to Europe. That's where I start with anyways. So on Skyscanner, you can go round trip or one way or do a multi-city, which that is flying into New York and flying home through a different city. So that's a possibility for searching for those two. It's just harder to find those prices. I usually start with round trip or one way and then piece one ways together for a multi-city if I need it. not to get too complicated, just start looking at it either a round trip or a one way to a certain region, destination, city, whatever. So here you can leave from, this is actually a pretty cool feature. I think you can do from the United States also to, let's just try Europe. You can actually do everywhere. So this is a cool thing that you can do here. Just do one of these quick ones real quick. And here you can actually set a whole month if you needed to go on a specific day, or you can just do the cheapest month. So I want to fly from the United States anywhere, whenever it's cheap to go. And then you can search these flights. So this will produce extremely low fares from different places in the States to different countries. And they're probably going to be closer places like Latin America and the Caribbean and places like that. So as soon as this populates, my internet runs slower when I'm recording for whatever reason. So here's an $11 flight, where the heck that might be from. So your cheapest place in, let's see, in Europe, you can just scroll through here. All right, so Iceland, here's the 99. This is definitely WOW Air. WOW Air has $99 flights from 3 different cities on the eastern seaboard to Reykjavik, Iceland, one ways. Sweden, 123, UK 126, 136 for mainland Europe from France. So you can just check that, find the flight, see what day it is, go on. So I'm going to change this to the trip that we put together, which was so United States to, we're going to change this to Poland. So from the US to Poland. We're going to see the cheapest time to go. And I ended up making this trip in February because totally it made the most financial sense. It was the cheapest to do it then. So as soon as this populates, you can find flights from the US to, I don't even know how to say that, Szczecin, Poland, for one stop. Warsaw, Gdansk, and Krakow are typically your cheapest place to go. This trip is Krakow, and then those other destinations I mentioned as well. So for $191, you've got a one-way to Krakow. And there are actually pretty good prices in a few different months to Krakow and other places in Poland in that region, which is a pretty awesome fare. It's pretty nuts how things have gotten so cheap. So here you see, it'll tell you where you're leaving from. New York was the cheapest. So you can choose that, and then it's got all this information. It's taking way too long because I'm recording. It shouldn't take you this long as you have a decent connection. It usually goes a lot faster than this. So it'll tell you when these flights are available for this cheap date to fly overseas. Okay, so here's a $182 flight. This is February 26th, $182. So then you can go and say, that is the flight that I want, and show me the flights. After you've done that, It'll show you all these flights, and you can go and purchase them. So this is the skyscanner is a website that aggregates all these different flights from all these different all these other different platforms, like these online travel agencies and that sell flights. So you can see here, it might populate something cheaper, but this is actually what it populated for me yesterday. 210 was actually the cheapest. It said it was 189. Sometimes it's a little higher than that. And I believe that's what this is doing. So your cheapest flight is with Norwegian Air, which is actually my favorite airline in the entire world. They're really affordable, and the planes are super duper nice. It's really accommodating, and you have the newest movies in the seat backs. It's comfortable. You get food and booze. It's really, really nice. So you leave at 10:30. So this is something where you could decide, I'm actually going to fly to New York. I'm going to go early. So if I do have a delay, at least I'll make it there by 10. And typically flying to New York, it's cheaper not to fly into JFK. It's cheaper to fly into either Newark or LaGuardia and then transfer to JFK. So this is something where it might be acceptable to fly in, depending on the time of year. February might be snowy still, so you'd have to watch out for those sort of delays. I would still suggest flying in a day before, so you have at least 24 hours to make sure you get there so you don't miss your international flight, because Norwegian won't hold a plane for you if you miss your Southwest flight to New York. So $210, select this. It'll take you directly to buy that flight. So I'm not going to go through the rest because it's running so slow, but you can do the same. And what I did was I found these other flights from Krakow flying to Dubrovnik for $164. And then you take a bus or a train from Dubrovnik to Mostar, Bosnia, from Mostar to Sarajevo. And then from Sarajevo, you fly for $202 to Rome. And then your flight home from Rome is $250 or less. So that in total with lodging, which I always use Airbnbs for my suggestions. And at 4 people sharing an Airbnb, the breakdown was $75, $40, $40, and $70 for nice, high-rated Airbnbs that I found. And also transportation from Rome to Sorrento to have a couple days exploring Pompeii and the Amalfi Coast, and then flying home. All that for $1,100. And so here you can see this is actually the fare directly from Norwegian Air's website that we just found on Skyscanner right here. So it's just an amazing way to find really, really cheap fares and to go internationally, have awesome trips. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If it is, then I'll do more of these, and I'll try to share even more tips with you guys on how to save in other ways and how to connect with locals and in more fares. I can, I search these every day, and I find really awesome deals all over the place. So I hope these tools really help you. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you'd like me to do next. Come to the next meetup. It's going to be really fun. We actually have some people who are really interested in going to Cuba. So we're going to start a Cuba trip just for the meetup for people to go together. We're actually going to try to go pretty big. We're going to try to get 12 people to go in early next year. We're thinking maybe January, maybe February. So if we can get 12 people to go and to commit to say yes, then that would be super duper awesome. We can easily do it under $1,000, including a flight from Kansas City. I have connections on the ground there, so we can have people pick us up from the airport. We can all stay in one big villa or a couple of smaller ones if we wanted to split up. And we can have people show us around the countryside. We can go to Pinar del Rio, Veradero, Santa Clara, wherever. So if you guys are interested in that, please email me as well, and we will get things rolling soon. So we'll schedule another meetup soon, and we might just talk about that. So hope you guys enjoyed, and hope to see you all soon. Thanks, guys.